Welcome to your video lesson on the Roman Republic to Empire. This is likely lesson one of two, but we'll see kind of how long it takes me to discuss some of these key ideas with you guys. So Italy's location, mild climate, and fertile land attracted settlers. Between 2000 to 500 BC, Rome had been settled by the Latins, the Greeks, and then eventually the Etruscans. Rome was built on 7 hills along the Tiber River, making it easy to defend because the Romans were able to gain a viewpoint over the surrounding land by standing on those hills. The Greeks introduced the Greek alphabet, sculpture, and olive and grape farming to Rome. But the Etruscans transformed Rome from a village with straw huts to one with temples, streets, and public squares. This image shows Rome as a busy and thriving ancient city. You can see an artist that has shown a lively street scene. Merchants sold goods from stalls, and people browsed the goods from the marketplaces and walked along the busy streets. Today, Rome is a huge tourist attraction for people who are interested in ancient history. See all those people standing on that scenic stairway, the Spanish Steps, that leads from one piazza to another. And a piazza is just a Roman word for a square. The Etruscans were the predecessors to Rome. This mural shows some of their art. You can see the first man playing the lyre, which is a small harp-like string instrument while dancing. Music's not my strong suit. The third man is dancing and carrying a cantharos, a drinking cup, with 2 hands on a footed bass. This shows a double flute being played by a dancing man. And this is a section of an ancient Etruscan tomb mural showing people at a banquet, perhaps after the death of a relative. We'll skip that one. Rome's government is considered to be an ancestor of our government. A lot of the original ideas of the Roman Republic were used by America's founders to develop our Constitution. The Roman government was made up of a consul, which is kind of like a president, like 2 leaders that are on, the head of the republic. The praetors, which are judges, and the Senate and the Assembly of the Centuries, which are legislative. They're the ones that make your laws. Conflict between social classes threatened the collapse of the empire and resulted in the Council of Plebes. Plebes is another word for poor people. Cincinnatus, a farmer, fulfilled his civic duty when he was called to rule as a dictator during an emergency. And you'll remember from our vocabulary that the term dictator, it doesn't mean the same thing that it means today. In Rome, they thought a dictator was someone who would kind of step up, make decisions for everybody during an emergency, and then kind of give power back. And Cincinnatus was somebody who was eventually studied by George Washington, and he had kind of seen that as his role as the first president. That was part of why he didn't want to serve more than 2 terms. He felt like he serves his duty, kind of does what he's supposed to do for his country, and then he gives back the power so that it doesn't become a system developed around one man. In 451 BC, Rome created its first written code of laws, the 12 Tables, and this is also a basis of the United States legal system. The 12 Tables included punishments for certain crimes, but also included rights that every person should have. And that was something that the founders used when developing, if you remember, our Bill of Rights. The Roman Republic grew exponentially during this period. You could see in 500 BC, Rome is only this small little pink area here. Within a couple hundred years, they add on all of Italy. And by 146 BC, they take over part of modern-day Spain, Greece, Macedonia, and you can even see them down here in northern Africa and Carthage, Sicily, Sardinia, Corsica, all these areas. So that spread of the Roman Republic is immense, and it's really fast in terms of global history. Here's an excerpt from the 12 Tables. You'll see some of the tablets that reveal a great deal about life in early Roman society. So you can see this part about trials. He whose witnesses has failed to appear may summon him by loud calls before his house every third day. Kind of similar to now, where judges can subpoena a witness. A witness can't say, like, I don't want to testify. A judge can force them to. Rights of fathers. If a father sells his son 3 times, the son shall be free from his father. Inheritance and guardianship. Females should remain in guardianship even when they have attained their majority or legally adults. That shows something about a lack of gender equality in Roman history. Marriages should not take place between plebeians and patricians, showing how the classes were intended to be really strict and they didn't want people to mix in classes. If slave have committed theft or done damage with his master's knowledge, the action for damage is in the slave's name. So kind of protecting the higher class again from the actions of their slaves, also indicating that there was slavery in Roman society. The Punic Wars. From 264 BC to 146 BC, 3 Punic Wars were fought between Rome and Carthage to gain control of the Mediterranean region. If you remember the map, right? Carthage is in northern Africa. Rome, wants that control of the Mediterranean Sea so they can trade and expand. During the Second Punic War, this is a famous event, Carthage's general Hannibal and his army took elephants over the Alps and into Italy. And we'll read a primary source kind of describing how crazy that was. Rome won all 3 of the Punic Wars, expanding its territory and the power following each war. After the Punic Wars, Rome conquered Greece and acquired a province in Asia. That's why they're having all that expansion that you saw. Here's a map of the Punic Wars. So you can see the green is Rome at the start of the First Punic War, and the yellow was the Empire of Carthage. And if you look, this is the blue shows Hannibal, and there's the Alps mountains, and that's where he took those elephants. You see Scipio's route into Carthage and scenes of major battles. I'm going to pause there. I'll go to part 2. You will watch both parts before, playing any kind of games. Thanks.